It's 2020. Starting with my main for 3x3 with feet. Oh wait. For 2x2, my main is the Keian. It's really good, and there are a lot of other good 2x2s. The reason I like the Keian is partially because it's super quiet. Before I got this, my main was the Valk, which I do pretty much just as well on, but I find that the Valk corner twists slightly more easily. This isn't a super great setup Valk, but I also find that the Keian out of the box took less setup to be good than the Valk, which is why I like this because I don't practice 2x2 all that much. Also, the Valk is slightly bigger, and I tend to like smaller cubes, so that might be a factor. For 3x3, I use the GAN XS. I also want to mention that for most of the year, I use the PVC coated Weilong WRM. I soon will probably try a PVC coated GAN XS because that does make the grip nicer in competition, but for some reason this works pretty well in comp as well. So it started off with the outer grip being really slippery and I didn't like it, but then after using it for about a month, it started to not get slippery, and then in competition it doesn't really change much. So the standard whatever coat they have on cubes, I don't like it as much as whatever is on the GAN XS, so keep doing that, GAN. Also, my settings, I have it on strong magnets right now, which is the outside, but medium works really well too. I use the dark blue thing on setting number 2, and for the spring compression, I have it on the tightest, which I believe is number 6. Now 4x4, I use the AoSu WRM, and I never got around to making a review on this, so this will be my review for it. In my opinion, if you're buying a 4x4, the ones to look at are the AoSu WRM, the Valk, and the GTS2. I don't know if this would work for everyone, but I would make my pick pretty much just based on size. The cubes came out in this order, and the GTS2 is better than the Wuchui in my opinion, which is why I switched to it. It's also slightly smaller, and then I switched to the Valk, which in my opinion is objectively the worst out of these three. But I still switched to it because it is a better size than the GTS2. Turns out my optimal size is either the Valk or the AoSu WRM. These are both really good sizes, but the AoSu WRM is just a better cube. I would say it performs just about as well as the GTS2. They both have their own slightly different problems and strengths, but I all think that matters less than just the size. So that's why it's my main, pretty simple. I use the Valk for 5x5, and this is pretty much what everybody uses now. It's not super duper fast unless you set it up to be that way, but it does have so much stability, which other 5x5s, if you make them fast, are missing. It also doesn't pop as much as the other one, so I like this one a lot. Next is 6x6, and I give my 100% recommendation for the MGC. Now my main before the MGC was the Shadow, and a lot of people had complaints that the inner layers, especially the most middle layer, is really slow to turn. The MGC's middle layers are really nice, pretty much just as nice as the other layers. And so this feels like an AoSu GTS, but if it was good. So a fast and pretty stable 6x6, I would say the Shadow might be more stable just because it's super slow, so that's not really a strength. I averaged 207 on the Shadow, and now I average 159 or 158. I don't know because it's still going down. For 7x7, I still use the X-Man Spark M, which I also did last year, and I'm actually really surprised that this is the only cube I still use, considering that the bigger cubes usually tend to have more room to improve. I think this cube is so stable, and it's incredible that a 7x7 can actually turn this fast. I apologize for having the loop sit around for a while. I have not practiced 7x7, so the cube starts to get a little slow. I think it's so crazy that 7x7s can be turned this fast, and the Spark is the first one that I'm so consistent with turning that fast. My only problem with it is it's a little bit slow, and the haze is also a good option, but I find that the haze is less stable for me. One thing I do want to mention is that the YJ Yufu M is actually really fast, and I wouldn't say it's as stable or as easy to use as the Spark, especially because for me, when I like smaller cubes, it's quite a bit bigger. And next up, events I don't really practice. I use the GAN Megaminx because I don't have another good Megaminx. For one-handed, this is the Chi Wu Wei. I have not made a review on this yet, but just playing around with it, I have noticed that it might be okay for one-handed, so that's why, I don't know. I should start practicing one-handed again. And for blindfolded, I use the GAN X. Why do I use the GAN X? That is because my 3x3 main is the GAN XS, and it's the closest one I have that doesn't have a logo on it. Alright, that's it. Looking back at my 2019 video, actually most of my mains have changed, so that's some good news for cubing hardware. And I can totally see them all changing my next year as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys all next time.